This is Star Wars Outlaws. We're diving in with an early look at this exciting new Star Wars adventure. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. I was invited by Ubisoft to take an early look at this new adventure in a galaxy far, far away, where you play as Kay, who is this, I guess you would say, bit of an outlaw type character, bit of a smuggler of sorts, is essentially Han Solo, but a female basically is the sort of character there. And yeah, we're diving in and showcasing a few unique adventures. So we're starting off with a later point in the game where you are essentially sent in to go to a familiar planet, if you've watched episode 9 and still remember the movie, and you are sent in to basically find a safecracker because you are compiling a team in order to get the job done. And, what is that job? Well, you'll have to play the game for that to be revealed to you. But anyways, no, you're building a team, you've got heisting things to do, you're trying to build up a group and explore, and, yeah, kind of making your way through the galaxy. So this is the first portion, snow planet, kind of cool setup. Then we're going to be going to this larger, vast sort of planet where there's a hive of villainy and scum, and nope, it's not Tatooine this time. A shocker, I know. And then finally, we're going to do a really exciting, I guess you would say, infiltration stealth type mission on board a station of the Empire, which is rather exciting. So for this first portion, we're kind of just battling in here. We need to find some intel. We need to grab a specific relic in order to appease the local faction. So this game is based around the idea of you doing jobs and or missions in order to basically gain favor with differing factions. It seems pretty open-ended, and yes, you can pet the bantha, which I always wanted to do. That's so cool. Banthas are just the best. Oh man, giant, cool, cuddly creature things that are awesome and terrifying too, because they're, monstrous. So yeah, that was that setup. Just again, a little bit of a tease. This was like a 4-hour session. The snow part was kind of brief. This planet here was sort of a main new world created between the different teams to actually provide some refresh within the Star Wars universe. And this was kind of your main chunk, and then at the end it'll be like an infiltration mission, which is pretty cool. And this area here, you're basically like riding across on a bike, and it's very open and free like it is your typical sort of Ubisoft open world where there's some activities and things going on. But this game is a lot more structured in terms of linear gameplay, and we'll talk about that, but I do want to get back to where I was mentioning the faction systems. So this game, well, it does present some linear missions that sort of vary in terms of excitement level. What's really neat here is the potential for the story and the decisions you make to really impact your quest. So there's a few different factions, and I guess depending on what part of the story you're on, different things will happen. But you're essentially, with your choices of how you interact with the gameplay, you're basically choosing, and it's kind of awesome from this perspective, you're basically choosing who you want to gain favor with or who you want to anger. So it's like, okay, so this Crimson crew, I can go in and I can do a job that will negatively impact them, and that will basically hurt my relations with that group. Or I could take it a different approach and kind of not maybe get caught, and then that will, kind of keep our standings pretty good. And the higher standings you get, and you can do like side missions and everything like that, it all factors in. Depending on your level of interaction with these different groups, you may find it easier to get in and do missions. Well, I need this item. Oh, it's with this this gang here. Okay, well, my standing's really good with them. I can just walk in. Or my standing's really bad with them. I have to do a elaborate sneak-in heist thing, and if they spot me, they may shoot at me or attack me, or, all kinds of things. And then your actions, like being like, oh, we were in good favor, but they catch me swiping something, they don't like that. So I'm very interested to see how that sort of plays out. This is also very interesting because we haven't had a lot of Star Wars games in the last decade, basically. We've had a few, but not a ton of Star Wars games like when I was growing up. And this one's really interesting from the element of, like, you're basically visiting these places, at least from what I was seeing when I was demoing this, that are kind of lively. Like, you get to go and sort of walk around in, like, a couple, like, cantina-type places, like, like bars and clubs, and you get to see, like, this market of of sorts, and it's really interesting to have that element of gameplay where you're sort of visiting lively Star Wars worlds. Like when I was younger, you know, they try to do that to some degree, but it's not to the scale that we can achieve in gaming today. So it was really interesting to actually go out and be like, wow, I'm at a bar thing, and you can like bet. I did like creature racing, and you know, you could bet on things, or you could play like this special like card type game, and that was really quite cool. Seeing a lively Star Wars world and actually exploring it and moving through it. And then, you know, you go off to the side, you do like a mission like this where we're attempting to gather some special keys in order to have intel, and then we can choose how we want to give away that intel. Do you want to give it to one group for a little bit of profit? Do we want to give it to another to potentially gain favor? And that's kind of interesting, and I think potentially, if it's done fully right in your full experience, this should allow you to have some level of like replayability and change in how you go through this particular game to some degree. So a lot of it is like open areas. Like this planet here, we showed off a little bit of at the start. You'll see a little bit more of the open area a little bit later on. But like I said, I limited stuff. So I have like 4 hours. I can show you like 20 minutes of it is what I'm allowed. So we get to give you like a slice of life, as to say. So I tried to show off some combat. I tried to show off some of the different areas I went to, trying to give you a full scope look at what this game has to offer. And obviously we will be back showcasing the full scope of this game because, well, I love working with Ubisoft and I love Star Wars games. And there's something kind of amazing about being able to take a look at a Star Wars game early on is kind of awesome. Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, that's for sure. So it is nice to see something that is also a bit more of a return to a linear type of gameplay. So Ubisoft stuff, if you've seen my coverage for a while here, I am getting a little tired of the endless open worlds. Definitely a little bit of fatigue there. So it is nice that this game does give you open world hub type areas, like open world places you can visit. But at the same time, when you're doing missions, you do actually get to have a more linear sense. Like this area here, this is sort of a stealth segment where things can get chaotic, but you really do get to choose how you go about it. So basically here I'm like, okay, a little bit of stealth, and then things go a little off and I have to start shooting and fighting. But you can have these little areas that, you know, kind of open up a bit, allow you to have some choice, and then some that are a little bit more linear. It's really quite awesome that you were able to have different approaches to this, but at the same sense, it's not something that's just like an endless open world where you're going and, you know, doing random tasks. At the same time, this game does have some quests that are a little boring. Like one of them was literally a fetch quest where they had me ride out to the outskirts of the city, grab an item, and then ride back, and I was just like, okay. And you know, it might be a little different for the setup of what we're experiencing here, but it was really weird where it's literally like a fetch quest, and I was just like, what is the point? Like, there was a couple missions where I was just like, oh, there's not really a whole lot going on in this, okay. But I think they were also a little bit some of these introductory missions. Like this planet really seems like an introduction level to get you ready to the world and everything like that. So we've got a segment here where we are out in space. So this game actually does feature some space combat and space exploration. So this is kind of neat. Like it's more specifically designed locations that you get to visit and battle within, which is kind of cool. It was fun, it was responsive, and it did make a lot of, I guess you would say, gameplay sense in the fact that you are, you know, like a bit of an outlaw. I mean, Star Wars Outlaws, right? But you are an outlaw that basically has stolen something. You've stolen a ship. Yeah, I think I can go over that. You've stolen a ship. You're building a crew. You're trying to make a name for yourself out there in the galaxy. And yeah, this is your ship, and you go out and you do little battles, and you fight TIE fighters. And what's really interesting is this game is essentially like, okay, so Ubisoft, and I think it's the same engines from what I was looking up and everything like that. The space flying is basically like Starlink. So if you guys don't remember Starlink, that was like a Ubisoft Toys 2 game kind of thing, and it looks like they basically took that element of it and put it into this Star Wars universe, which is kind of cool because they have like the technology where you can literally like not fully, but you can basically like be in space and you can fly down to the planet, or you can be on the planet and you can fly up to space. And it's not fully set up in the way that you are essentially like, you know, just open space flying. At least from what I saw. I don't know. I could be wrong from that perspective. Like, again, slice of life, we're shown what we're shown, we're playing what we're playing. But yeah, it felt very much like Starlink, and I don't know, maybe I'm way off on this, but I was sitting there playing it, I was like, this feels exactly like Starlink's space stuff. Which is fine, because it was actually pretty good for flying and shooting and everything like that. But yeah, we've got the Star Wars coat of paint over that, which is interesting, and I think overall the game looks gorgeous. I like when playing it, we do it like remotely, so I don't know if you see like these little segments where I'm sort of quick like unlocking puzzle things, but like some stuff, the latency when you're doing a test over or playing something, so they record it locally for me and then they send it to me, but you know, I'm playing remotely, so if there's any sort of delay in actions and interactions and stuff like that, it's, you know, it's network stuff, and you don't really get to enjoy the visuals of the game until you actually get the footage locally. And like, I think this looks fantastic. Like, this area here was my favorite part of what I played. It's like, yeah, the open world area was cool, yeah, the snow planet was cool, I mean, if you're into episode 9, but like here, going into just this, like, it's kind of important, but it's just like a random station for the Empire. But it was so interesting and so authentic, like the way the stormtroopers look, the way that you're able to move through this hangar where you see TIE fighters and stuff like that, and you've got the different uniforms, basically like officers and everything. It looks so shiny, it looks so clean, it looks perfectly like you would expect a like Empire type installation to look. And you're really able to move through it. Like, this is a bit more of a linear setup, but you're exploring this place and you're going through it in a way that feels kind of natural. You know, you're just linking through the pipes. You're dealing with like the way the light kind of shines and the smoke effects and everything like that. And it looks stunning. It really does capture that Star Wars aesthetic so beautifully well. You get that too, like the planets, they look nice. Like I said, I didn't get to spend a crazy amount of time on the planets. I was flying around and driving around on them to a degree, but it wasn't like I was really taking the world. A lot of the demo was sort of like, or well, I guess it's more of a slice of the life of the game. You were going through offshoot areas of like specific, you know, kind of weird hives of scum and villainy, but it is a lot more cool when you get to visit places like this where it feels it's an Imperial place and it captures Star Wars so perfectly well. And I do wish I could have spent more time in the open world because I thought the environments looked quite stunning, and I just didn't really get to see a ton of them. It's also really funny too, so in the little areas, like the Empire is sort of guarding and or running these places as they would be during their peak. And you're able to, like, I was jumping and bumping into the stormtroopers. And it's funny and really, really quite humorous, but they get, like, mad at you, and they eventually, like, go after you to a degree. So I was sitting there, like, jumping and, like, bumping into them and stuff with the character, and they're like, hey, watch it, and stuff. And yeah, there's lots of, like, little neat interactive elements to this that I thought were kind of cool. And then you've got a PAL too. You know, no Star Wars game or Star Wars experience in the modern era seems complete unless you've got like a little creature with you that's doing something, or a little astro droid. So you've got your little PAL here, little cool alien type creature, who will assist you with doing things like, oh, I need that door opened, I can't fit in, send the creature. Oh, can you distract these enemies, send in the creature. And it's a cute little thing, and it's kind of like it's this big chatting PAL 4K here. And you're basically interacting with this little critter, and it's adorable. I guess there's already plushies, I was told, for this thing, but I was like, if they don't have plushies, what are they doing? Because, you know, this creature is absolutely adorable and such a cool little companion to your character in the game. It's neat to have sort of this nice foil for you to work off of, where it's a creature that helps you, understands you, and, you know, also kind of supports the main character. But yeah, the main character, again, just basically Han Solo, essentially. I do wish there was a little bit more dynamics to the character. And you know what? Maybe there is across the full story. I don't know yet. I haven't. You know, I played what I played, right? But I think mostly for me it was quite refreshing to have a Star Wars game that was sort of, yeah, you get some freedom in some open world areas, but like it is actually a linear set traditional Star Wars game where you are doing missions, you are doing objectives. And I really quite like that. I was a little worried that it was going to be sort of you know, the Ubisoft open world where you're just doing like endless things. So it is nice that this one was a lot tighter. It felt a lot more structured. It looked really, really great, which again, I mean, no surprise for the engine technology at play here. Like, this is it's a nice looking engine. Their games always look stunning. And then you throw in some Star Wars stuff in there, and I think it looks fantastic. So you get some fun tools too. You can do like grappling hook things, pick up guns. There are some weapon modifications and workbench activities you can do, which I was not allowed to show. And yeah, there's actually some pretty intricate systems in how you go about tackling scenarios and doing stealth stuff or being more on the aggressive. Some missions require stealth, some allow you to kind of pick and choose. Regardless, this is a really, really good looking game. I did have, during my moments of fun, really cool fun, blasting away stormtroopers, moving, like this hangar area looks so cool. Yeah, it's just like really quite impressive to me, like visually they were able to capture Star Wars so well, which you expect out of video games these days, right? We've seen quite a few Star Wars games where you're like, wow, this looks really awesome. But no, it is nice to have a premium, high-tier, single-player story game for Star Wars. I would love to see more of these like I did back when I was young, and it's really cool that Ubisoft is providing something that feels modern and interesting and a little bit different. And I'm quite interested to see where the character kind of goes. Like, I did enjoy the character and the dynamics of the character, even if I was just sitting there being like, oh, it's just Han Solo basically, without being able to have Han Solo or something like that. But I do kind of find her fun. I love the interactions with her little, you know, I wouldn't call it a pet, but companion. And then the other sort of creatures you come across, or other species of aliens. Like, there is a wide range of environmental, like, critter type things. And you can pet stuff too, which is fun. It's nice to have that in there. And then there's many different species of, well, aliens, right, that you come across, and they all have different things going on, and, you know, different, like, things they fit into working for the Empire, or maybe they're, like, you know, their own outlaws, or they got their own faction thing going on. And again, that's really quite the interesting aspect to me. The most interesting element of this is the whole factions type system, and how your choices will anger and or aid you with these factions, and how you are able to actually go out, battle, and make a difference within the Star Wars universe. Like, this really is quite interesting. Like, I think they've got a good balance of sort of fast-paced combat gameplay, stealth segments, something that's a little bit more story-driven. Yeah, it's actually pretty well put together. Polishing-wise, it definitely does seem like they need to work out a bit of the performance-type things technically, but that's also really hard to say because, well, basically I was streaming it over, and it's an early build and everything like that, so they are still working on it. But I did notice some little technical hiccups here or there, but for the most part, honestly, it played really well. It was fine for the 4 hours, nothing too glaring or problematic. It was a pretty well put together thing. I'd say from like a visual and aesthetic and a style perspective, this is very, very well polished. It looks good. It can be quite fun. It's got some nice energy to it. It's got some cool characters. There's a lot of potential for this one to really, really be quite an awesome Star Wars game. And I liked what I was shown. I enjoyed playing it. It was neat. Good setups, good scenarios. I loved this, like, hangar bay, as I've mentioned. It was really, really cool as you were going through and blasting enemies, and, you know, it felt like a proper Star Wars game in the modern era, right? It's always a good time when you're sitting there blasting away some stormtroopers that are problematic to your, you know, mission and your goals and everything like that. And yeah, no, I think they've got something that actually can be quite a lot of fun to play. I think people are going to be rather excited about this. It's refreshing for Ubisoft to have something a little tighter gameplay-wise. It's nice to have a Star Wars game that's single-player focused and allows you to have a little bit of customization, a little bit of freedom as you visit some planets. And I'm mostly excited to see where else this game kind of takes you. I know there's the idea, at least from what I was kind of seeing here, where you are building a crew, going towards a big heist scenario, and yeah, it's just always good to have a new Star Wars game to dive into and play and go to a galaxy far, far away. I always love Star Wars, and it's nice to see the games continuing that sort of tradition of being something that is fun and different within this world to explore. And I love the density of the crowds. I like the backdrops of the unique worlds we got to visit. It was some cool tools, a great set of like core characters, and I'm very intrigued to see what the full scope of this has to offer when I get to dive into it and cover it in the near future. So look forward to that. And again, liking the video is great. Subscribing is great as well.